Good morning, Algebra 2 classes. I'm sorry I couldn't be here today, but luckily your teacher knows how to make videos, so I can kind of be here even though I'm not here. All right, so we are going to evaluate logs, and we started a little bit yesterday. We got a little intro to it, but now we are actually going to do it for real. It's a lot. So in order to evaluate log base 2 of 8, we have to think, what power of 2 is 8? What power of 2 is going to get me to 8? So one way to think about this, my log base 2, my base is 2, what power, that's a question mark, will get me to 8? So I think, okay, 8 is what times what? Let's see, I can break it down. I could do a factor tree and go 8 is 4 times 2, and that's 2 times 2, so it looks like I can rewrite 8 as 2 to the power of 3. So what power gets me from 2 to 8? 3. So my answer is 3. So log base 2 of 8 equals 3. Okay? All right. So here is just this big thing. I know it's not on your note sheet. If you want to write it somewhere on your note sheet at the top or on the side, this says a base to some exponent. Oops, I wanted green. To some exponent is equal to some number. So, like we just said in the last example, 2 to the third power equals 8. Okay, so this is in exponential form. 2 to the third power equals 8. Well, if I want that in a log form, my log would say log base 8. So I'd say log base, I'm sorry, I just said base 8. What was my base? My base was 2. Log base 2 of some number of 8 in this case would equal my exponent. So my exponent was 3. So this is a true statement. 2 cubed is 8. This is another way of saying that statement. 2 to the third power is 8. Okay? So in this question, when we're given a log, we are asked, what is the exponent? What exponent are we using? What exponent gets me to 8? Okay? All right. So you guys have this. The odd problems you're going to do in class and the even problems you're going to do for homework. So I'm going to walk you through a couple. You're going to try a couple. We'll check our answers. So 2 to what power gives me 32? That's the question I'm asking. I want to compute the values of each log. So 2 to the question mark power equals 32. So I need to break down 32. Maybe you already know, but 32, let's see, I could do 8 times 4. Break it down, 2 times 2. Break this down, 4 times 2 and 2 times 2. Wow, that's a lot of 2's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it asked 2 to what power is going to give me 32? 5. So my answer is 5. So this is another way of writing the question, but the answer is 5. So let's not write it that way. Now let's just say 3 to what power gives me 27? Well, 27 breaks down, 9 times 3, 3 times 3. I have 3 to the third power, so I'm going to write 3. 3 to the third power is 27. 10, base of 10. 10 to what power gets me 1,000,000? This one is easy in a sense because I just need to count up my zeros, and 10 to the sixth power is 1,000,000. Now this one starts to get interesting. Let me pull this up so we can all see it. This says 10 to some power, I'm going to put a question mark, is 1 over 100. Now I know that 10 squared gets me to 100, but to make it reciprocate like that, there's something special that happens, and I think some of you already are thinking it, that if I want this 10 to reciprocate, I need to have a negative exponent. And to get to 10 to 100, I have to square it. So negative 2. If I take 10 and raise it to the negative 2 power, it reciprocates and becomes 1 over 10 squared, or 100. All right, awesome. Let's try this. Ooh, this is confusing. All right, so here I have the square root of 7 right? Square root of 7. To what power would give me 7? So maybe if we take this radical and rewrite it, how could I rewrite this, the square root? Square root. Like this is the 1 power, remember flower power, and the roots are underground. So I could rewrite that square root as 7 to the 1/2, and I want to know to what power else, what other power do I have to raise it to get 7? Oh, well, I guess that makes sense, right? To get rid of a square root, I would have to square a square root in order to get to 7. So same thing here, I'd have to multiply 2 times 1/2 to get 7 to the 1. So it looks like the exponent we have to raise it to is a 2. That one was a little tricky. All right, let's try this. 2 to what power gives me 1/4? I like to think about this. I say, well, 2 to what power gives me 4? And I think, okay, the 2 power, but 2 squared is 4. I need to reciprocate that, so I have a -2. So the -2 exponent gets me to 1/4. All right, 2 more, and then I think we're done with this explanation. So here we have 234 to what power gives me 1? Anything to this power gives me 1. Aha, to the 0 power. Okay, so anything to 0 power, you'd always get a 1 there. All right, this one, is a little tricky. 5 to what power gives me a -25? Some of you might be thinking -2, but a negative in the exponent reciprocates. It doesn't make it negative. This one is not possible. So we have to be careful. This number right here can never be a negative number. All right? Awesome. Thank you guys for walking through that with me. Let's see. I might actually have you guys try the evens right now, because I think we're going to have a lot of time. So if you'll go back, let's pause the video now. Okay? So whoever's closest to the computer, go ahead and hit pause. And then you guys can practice. I want you to do the evens in class, because I think you have time to do the evens. So pause for a minute, try them, and I will come back and give you some answers. All right, go ahead and hit pause. All right, so once you finish 2 through 16, then you can hit play again. If you haven't finished them yet, let's take a few more minutes, make sure we've tried them, and then come back and check answers. All right, hit pause if you haven't finished. If you have, great. So 3 to what power is 81? 4th power. 10 to what power is 1,000? 3. We have to cube it. 2 to what power? Well, I know it's going to reciprocate, and it's to the 5th power, so -5. 9 to what power is 3? Whoa! 9 to what power gives me 3? If I go from a larger number to a smaller number, I have to square root. Well, the square root looks like a half, right? So the 9 to the 1/2 power will give me 3 because I square rooted it. All right, if I start with root 7 and I want to get to 1/49, I have to square it, but then I have to square it again. So I have to raise it to the 4th power, but then it has to be negative, so -4th power. Let's just double check that's right. 7 to the 1/2 to the -4 would be 7 to the -2, which is 1/7 squared, which is the same as 49. Good, 1/49. All right, just had to check my work. All right, let's see. Here, I'd like to change this one to a fraction. So this says 1/100th. Then I would be able to deal with this better and say, oh, it's just to the -1 power. Here, 2 to what power gives me 2 to the 5th? Oh, well, 5. Okay. And then 4 to what power? Well, 4 cubed gets me there, so it's a -3 to get there. Once you start understanding these, they're kind of fun. They're like a little puzzle. All right, so the next section we're going to do is solving. So I'm going to do a couple with you, and then you're going to try a couple on your own, just like we did before. So this says, I know what the answer is, it equals 2, but now I have to figure out this little guy. So I want to say, okay, 3 to the second power, so I kind of rewrite it. Log base 3, my base is 3, this is my exponent, and that's my number. So 3 to the second power is x. Well, 3 squared is 9, so x equals 9. We just solved. We could plug it back in and check. 3 to the second power is 9. Yep. All right. Now this, we want to rewrite it first. So I like to do a little arrow. 3, this is in log form, this is in exponential. So log base 3 to the third power is equal to 4x. Now, this one I had the answer right away, but this one I have to do a little work. 3 to the third power is 27 equals 4x, so then I have to divide by 4. And that's my answer. X equals 27 fourths. And I can just leave it like that. All right, over here. Now, I want to get rid of this 2. It says times 2, so I want to divide both sides by 2 first. And then I get log base 7 of negative 2x still equals 0. This says 7 to the 0 power equals that. 7 to the 0 power equals that, right? This is my base, that's my exponent, and that's my number. So negative 2x. Now, I'm a little nervous. 7 to the 0 power is 1. And then divide by a negative 2. And it looks like x equals a negative 1/2. But I'm a little nervous because if I have to be able to plug this back in. And remember we said this can't be negative? So if I plug in that x, will we be okay? Let's check and see. Negative 2 times a negative 1/2 is a positive 1. So it works out okay. As long as this ends up negative, as long as this ends up positive, we're okay. All right, so that one works. Let's try the next one. Ooh, they're starting to look a little scary. Okay, so I just have to get my log by itself. So I have to add 10 first. Negative 10 plus 10 is 0. Log base 3 of n plus 3. So now I rewrite it. I like to draw my little arrow. Base of 3 to that exponent equals that. Log base 3, so the base of 3 to the 0 power equals n plus 3. I can simplify this. 3 to the 0 is 1, right? 3 to the 0 is 1 equals n plus 3. Oh, we're almost done. Minus 3, minus 3. Careful. It's easy, but you guys sometimes get confused. Positive 1, take 3 away, you have negative 2. So if I plug that back in, let's double check and make sure it's going to be a positive number. If I put a negative 2 plus 3, I get 1. So we're okay. Now if I plug that number back in and get a negative number here, then there would be no solution. So you have to be really careful. Plug that back in and check. This right here cannot be negative. All right. So n equals negative 2 is our answer. All right, a couple more. Minus 2, minus 2. Here we get 2 equals log negative x. Wait a second. Where's my base? I don't see a base there. It says log with nothing. So this is a special kind of log. If you see a log with nothing there, then we all just have to know that there is a log base 10. It's called a common log. Common log has a base of 10. All right, so we just need to know there's a base of 10. 10 squared equals that. 10 to the second power equals the opposite of x. So 10 squared, 100. And then multiply by a negative. So the opposite of 100 equals x. All right, let's double check it, plug it back in. The opposite of the opposite, aha, negative negative becomes a positive. So as long as we put a positive 100 in here, we're good. Okay? All right. First step here. I want to get rid of this fraction, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. Because 2 and a half will undo each other, right? They're inverse operations. So these undo each other and we get log base 6 of 16x equals 3. Uh-oh, was that? It almost looks like it's to the power of 2, but really it was just times 2, right? Times 2 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6. All right. Now we change forms and we say 6, my base is 6, to the 6th power equals 16x. Now some people might be tempted to divide by 16 somewhere, but you have to get it, it's like locked in that log until we get it out and change forms, we can't get to that number. So now that we have 6 to the 6th power, and you know what? I honestly don't know what 6 to the 6th power is. So I am going to open up my calculator and see what is 6 to the 6th power. All right. That is a big number. Okay, so let's do 6 to the power of 6 is a really big number. Okay, 46,656 equals 16x, right? So I just evaluated that. Then I want to do one last step to get x by itself. Divide by 16. So what does x equal? Divide by 16, and we get x equals 2,916. I want to double check if I plug that number back in, will this be positive? Yes, it will. So we're good to go. All right. I feel like that's probably good enough. I'm going to go ahead and hit pause again. I want you to try a couple on your own. So you're going to try the evens now and see how that goes. All right. Do your best. Talk to your groups. You guys are brilliant. There's Mrs. Sarno and Mrs. Griffiths and your wonderful substitute. Thank you for coming in and helping me out. All right. So I think you're going to have another practice worksheet for homework. Originally we were going to have you do the evens, but I thought you needed some practice in class. So you guys for homework are doing this other worksheet that I will print out for you. Okay? All right. I will see you tomorrow. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and do the evens for you. Okay. So let me paste it here. Paste. All right. So I will put up these answers, but make sure you've tried them before I give you the answers, okay? So go ahead and hit pause, and when you're done trying, then we will check them. Okay, so here are some answers for 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. I don't think you'll probably get through much more than that. If you're really, really quick, you are amazing. I just want to give you a heads up. I know we're having a quiz on Thursday, but the quiz on Thursday has none of this stuff on it. So the second section, none of these where you are solving equations so much, it's more where you're evaluating. So this is where we want to get you to the point where you can evaluate. So yeah, that is where we're headed. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, I can answer them tomorrow when I get back. Okay, thanks.